Get full access to over 20,000 episodes with your free trial. MyOutdoorTV. Sign up today.
Welcome to Driven Shooting at the moors of northern England. We're gonna shoot red grouse. Our host is Johnny Goodhart.
Fluxy, high and fast!
To me, it's just the best sport there is. It's a completely, truly wild bird.
A grouse can reach a speed of 130 kilometers per hour.
They're just the fastest game bird in the world. Full stop, end of.
When it comes to grouse shooting, many people think of Scotland, which is probably due to the popular whiskey brand, the Famous Grouse. But the best grouse moors are actually situated here, where we are just now, in the Pennines in northern England. Here, the climate is milder and the conditions of living more favorable. The red grouse is a local subspecies of the willow grouse and is endemic to the British Isles only. The willow grouse is distributed over northern parts of Scandinavia, Russia, and America. It has white wings, and the entire plumage turns white in the wintertime. The red grouse is the same color all year round, and its entire life is spent on the moors, as it is totally dependent on heather for food as well as protection. It eats the heather shoots, seeds, and flowers, and accordingly needs plants of different age in order to thrive. It is primarily due to grouse shooting that there are still large tracts of moorland in Great Britain. Without the income and jobs that grouse shooting generates, many moors would be turned into conifer forests, whereby the red grouse, and with it many other species, would risk ending up on the list of endangered species.
Grouse shooting, to be fair, is the sport of kings.
The day begins with the estate manager's safety instructions.
So we'll do 2 drives there, and then we'll move on and do another single drive before lunch, and then this afternoon just see how the day's panning out, etc., etc. Just to reiterate some of the more important things again, butt sticks on the Argo Cat, please make sure your loaders bring them, put them up, have a dry swing, make sure in the right place. End guns and your 9 guns, so 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, please be aware of the flankers. Good them away so that they know that you know where they are. They will move as the drive comes in. There will be a horn towards the end of the drive. That horn means no more shooting in front. As I said yesterday, when you do hear the first horn, please turn to your neighbours with your gun up just to make sure everyone, you know, it's a nice, still, quiet day today, but often it's very windy and someone doesn't hear. No black grouse. Same penalty as yesterday.
It goes up all year, man.
And so we had 9 guns, a number from the right moving 2, and David will do the draw. So we'll go from there.
The butts are distributed according to a draw, and after each drive, the guns move 2 positions in the line. Usually there are 8 or 9 guns in a party, and we'll have 4 or 5 drives in a day, so everybody will have a post in the center as well as on the flanks.
Okay, so who has drawn, what number are you? That's okay.
Go on.
What number are you?
Who's 1 and 3?
Go on. Oh, we're 2, what are you?
9.
Oh, that's all right. Oh, that's it.
The preparations are now over, and the shoot can begin.
Right, David, off we go.
Rolling, 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 roll high.
The guns are tensely awaiting the arrival of the first birds. Some of them might even be a trifle nervous as they are checking their guns and practice mounting their guns.
He hit it fairly hard at its first,
I know,
but he
I
killed
thought
it
was
dead
gonna
with
go
second.
down. Yeah, I thought it was going to go down with the first.
Soon, however, the line of guns remain calm and quiet. But this will change abruptly when the first covey of grouse arrive, gliding over the heather.
Oh, David Flux, how did I miss that?
Hey, you got 2 with 1 shot.
2 with 1 shot and then a single.
Johnny kills 2 grouse in 1 shot, which of course was not intended.
Interesting, I went the whole way down the line, that lot. Do you see they were turned beautifully by the flankers? You see that, Jens? And then they came up through the line, and they've gone out to about gun number 7.
Johnny is happy with the flankers' efforts. Their task is to prevent the grouse fly to sides and instead drive them towards the line of guns. In order to do this, the beaters wave their white flags, as the grouse will react to all sudden movements and accordingly are relatively easy to direct. In quick succession, Johnny takes a bird to the left of him with his gun number 1 and makes a quick double to the right with number 2. The birds continue to pour over the moor. The guns normally begin with 1 or 2 shots at incoming birds, quickly exchange guns, turn around, and fire 2 quick shots at the birds going away before they're out of range. The first shot is often fired at 50 meters distance, but the birds are so fast that when the pellets hit them, they're only 30 meters away.
And again.
Well, that's a bit far in for me.
Come in, right?
Yep.
Well shot.
For incoming birds, the barrel with most choke should be fired first. Famous grouse hunters like Lord Ripon are said to have used pairs where the gun they used for incoming birds fired the barrel with the most choke first instead of the other way around, which is standard. Between 1867 and 1923, Lord Ripon killed the incredible number of 97,668 grouse. The butt is an embrasure made of stacked blocks of peat or stone, or even wood in some cases. Here the guns can be partially hid from the birds, and to make sure that they do not accidentally swing the guns in the directions towards their neighboring sportsmen, a set of butt sticks are used. The guns will put the butt sticks up themselves at places which suit the individual gun. A seasoned grouse shooter can administer a wide shooting sector and will put up his butt sticks accordingly, whereas a novice may take a larger margin of safety in order not to put his fellow sportsmen in danger during the heat of the shooting. Johnny and his loader, David Elgie's cooperation is working perfectly. Johnny misses the incoming bird but manages to change guns and get it flying away. David has been Johnny's loader for more than 15 years, and the 2 men have developed an almost telepathic cooperation. It is also David's job to help spot approaching birds and to assist with advice when Johnny's shooting is not working as it should. Johnny and David have no eye contact when they exchange guns. Keeping his eyes on the birds, Johnny puts his left hand out and has a loaded gun pressed into it, while David simultaneously removes the empty one from Johnny's right hand.
When the flank get within about 250 yards of the butts, they blow the first horn, which means we can no longer shoot in front. We can only then shoot behind. It's for the safety of the beaters. And when the second horn goes, that's the end of the drive, and we're all done.
Driven grouse is an extremely exclusive type of shooting. For historical reasons, the day's bag is counted in brace of birds, and the cost per brace bagged is between 150 to 200 pounds, or roughly 2 to 300 euros. The price reflects the high cost of managing the game and organizing the shoots. A normal shoot will involve the employment of something like 30 beaters, 8 to 10 flankers, and 6 pickers up for retrieving the killed and wounded birds, besides staff for providing transport, lunch, and so on. On top of this, a number of gamekeepers will be employed throughout the year to manage the game. Grouse shooting has a significant economic effect on the local community. The assistance is hired locally. Local hotels and pubs also benefit from the visiting grouse hunters, just like gun shops, petrol stations, and so on. Some claim that the British shooting industry generates more VAT revenue for the government than the national sport of soccer. Jim Sutton is head keeper.
To be a grouse keeper, to me, is it's my entire life. You know, I'm up on these hills every day of the year, and you're nurturing the birds all the way through, from being chicks through to shooting season, and then you're looking after them all the way through the winter. And it's not just for grouse, it's for waders as well, and all the songbirds, and it's everything what's there is in all of these moors. It's an amazing bird, you know, to think that it lives on these hills 365 days a year through all of this harsh weather, and such a fantastic parent. You know, the weather that they put up with all year round to protect the chicks and look after them, they're truly remarkable. At the end of the day, it's a wild bird and it goes where it wants to do, and when it comes to placing the butts, you place the butts in the natural flight lines, and you're just looking to try and funnel the birds through that natural flight line and intercept them at a line of butts. We carry out predator control all year round, and that'll be the trapping of mustelids, stoats and weasels, and control of foxes through snaring and rifle shooting. And we also control corvids, whether it be crows, magpies, rooks, jackdaws throughout the edges of the moors, protecting the eggs. And it's an all year round job. Brings a lot of money into the local community. As you can see out on a shoot day, you've got up to 40 or 50 people employed each day, and throughout the year, you know, it's a lot of money and coming in.
It's time for another drive. The beaters begin to make a line 2 or 3 kilometers in front of the line of guns. The hunters put up their butt sticks and get ready. Then they wait and scan the terrain for the first birds. As the grouse will often fly low and follow the contours of the landscape, they can be difficult to spot well in advance. A grouse butt can be very old, as the birds will follow the same lines in the landscape year after year. The butts have been made across the birds' traditional lines of flight and will very rarely be moved. Obviously, the butts must be maintained, especially the top layer of peat or heather.
Right, okay, time to concentrate. We're away.
Johnny has brought his 14-year-old daughter, Serena, along. Her task is to note where the birds drop.
Thank you, David. Ah, yes.
Straight ahead, boss. In the sky.
Yeah, got it, yeah. Fluxy! High and fast! Still high and fast!
Johnny prefers to use side-by-side guns for grouse shooting, as they do not shoot as high as a typical over and under.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming.
Look right here.
Here.
Right here, right
Okay,
here.
come on.
Johnny has a good start, making a double on the incoming birds, and with his gun number 2, one more going away.
Yep, 3 down, Serena. 2 in front, 1 behind.
The grouse are really difficult to flush, especially when you get well into the season, and accordingly the beaters can be quite far apart at the beginning of the drive. However, the distance between them narrows down as they get closer to the line of guns. The most important thing is that the beaters will keep a straight and even line. The flags are used to convince the grouse that they should fly forward towards the guns. The orange flags indicate that the men holding it is one of the estate's keepers or assistants. The dogs can be very useful during the drive, but must be well trained and not allowed to get too far ahead of the drive, so they will make the birds fly out to the sides.
I've got this one here, yeah, I've got them here.
Left.
Got one behind as well, Serena. Here we go, Fluxy! Ah! Underneath it.
Well done, Derby.
The grouse are coming very low and can be hard to see in time, so both Serena and David helps Johnny spotting them.
One here, maybe slightly left. Have you got him?
Where?
Here.
Yeah.
No. Straight ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, coming.
Where?
Right there.
I chipped the second one with the first shot. That's put me off. There's one just down here.
Yeah.
We are well into the season, and the broods have started to amass in large coveys. This is due to the time of the year and to the shooting. The adult birds are often flying in front, and accordingly run a greater risk of being killed. The young birds are capable of fending for themselves, but feel safer when building coveys and flying with so many other birds. Although the birds are not aware of it, the strategy of building large coveys is actually a good survival strategy. The more birds you are accompanied by when passing the line of guns, the better your chances of survival. It is extremely important to pick the right bird and concentrate on that even though other birds arrive. Even the slightest hesitation will make your chance come to nothing.
Because I can't shoot there, David. Do you see? That's how you've got to be so clear about what you're shooting here. I cannot shoot low here. I have to shoot up because the two flankers are coming in, even though the rest of the line is up there. There's an absolute cut-off point I can't shoot beyond, yeah?
The grouse are very sensitive of movement and noise, and it is evident how the birds at the rear of a covey veer off as they see the guns and loaders in front of them and as they hear the shots.
Look at that. Do you see the hair here? So that's not a good place to be. I think we might push off.
There are many blue hares on the moors, but they're not popular as they compete with the sheep for food and carry ticks, which will also attack the grouse.
I like this drive.
Watch out, Trina, watch out on the left. Got it.
Yeah.
Jeremy!
Right.
Jeremy!
Right.
Going through behind!
The grouse continue to pour past the line of guns. They will often fly low, even over the heather, dive into the hollows and ravines, and sweep over the hills and ridges. But depending upon the wind and other climatic conditions, they can also pass quite high over the line of guns. There is only one thing that is given. They will always come very fast. How much lead you need obviously varies, but when the birds are coming downwind and are not very close, it can be a matter of several meters. Johnny manages yet another double before the second signal from the horn indicates that the drive is over. Driven grouse is definitely not for everyone. You must have the economic means to enjoy this most exclusive type of bird shooting, and this evidently upsets some people. But this kind of shooting has a great impact on the local community in terms of jobs and economy, as we've already mentioned. In many of the sparsely populated areas, grouse shooting is the only important source of income, which manages without massive funding from the taxpayers. If you instead hunted the grouse by walking up where the hunters move in a line and use pointing dogs to shoot the birds raised, the income generated for the sparsely populated areas would be much smaller. For this kind of shooting, you need no beaters, flaggers, or loaders. For a sportsman buying a day's sport on the moor, the price per brace of grouse will not be any less, but much fewer birds will be bagged, and the amount generated would not be sufficient to pay for an effective game management, and most keepers would lose their jobs. Bracken would take over large parts of the heather-clad hillsides, and much of these would turn into natural or planted forests. The landscape would lose its unique beauty, and many species would suffer from this. It is due to driven grouse shooting that the total area of moors in Great Britain is no longer decreasing. A British moor is rarely a biosphere in balance. In order not to return to the forested landscapes, which especially the English moors once were, it takes animals feeding here, in addition to burning the heather and other management measures in order to maintain it. At the same time, the moor is sensitive to mechanical impact, overgrazing, and wear. Accordingly, the transportation on the moors is made by Argo cats, amphibious vehicles with 8 wheels. An Argo cat has many advantages, apart from being able to drive in swampy or rough terrain. As the weight of the vehicle is divided over a large surface, an Argo cat will not damage the sensitive vegetation of the moors or compress the soft peat. 4x4s do not have the same mobility and would cause serious damage to the parts of the moors with the most sensitive types of vegetation. Most of the guns will make their way to the butt on foot, but with the privilege of age, David is driven up there in an Argo Cat. Johnny wants to spare his faithful assistant and will gladly tell what it takes to be a good loader and why he's reluctant to shoot grouse without David next to him in the butt.
Well, you've got to be young enough to walk up a hill. No. A good loader is someone who can spot grouse for you, who can change guns quickly, who can reload the spare gun, who will assist you when you're hitting or missing. So he's like an instructor some of the time. He carries your kit to your butt. He cleans the gun at the end of the day. And for that, he takes a nice little tip home. Without them, it just isn't the same. Certainly on grouse, it's about the one bird you do have to shoot with double guns, particularly if you want to thin them out in the big packs we're being seen today. And it makes you about 40% more efficient. My loader here, young David, who's got his back to us, has loaded for me for about 15 years now, and he knows what I'm going to do before I know I'm going to do it. So he's been brilliant with me over the years, and we've had a lot of fun, and I hope that we'll have a lot more fun over the next 15 years. I had one in front, didn't I? And I had certainly one behind.
Even more important than a good loader are the safety measures.
Couple of safety points. We usually wear shot-proof glasses. Yellow lenses are best. They show up a greater contrast between the grouse and the heather, so the grouse become a little bit darker and the heather becomes a bit lighter, so you can see them a little bit ahead of time. So the other thing that's quite important are our butt sticks. The more novice a shot you are, you want them nice and tight. What it does, it just stops you swinging through the line and killing your neighbour. Grouse fly quite low and fast, and it's very easy in the excitement just to swing through the line. So we put the butt sticks up to stop you swinging through the line and killing your neighbour. We also use a thing called a butt marker. We're in a grouse butt, that's B-U-T-T rather than butt as in bottom. And we use a grouse butt marker, and the centre point is where the butt is. And because the heather is so long in parts, you need to mark where the bird falls. So at the end of the drive, you know where you've got to go and pick up. And today, Serena is running Sizzle, who's our little working cocker. And it's in her job to mark where they're going to fall and then go and recover them later on.
The arriving grouse prevent Johnny from talking.
Certainly got 2, if not 3 there.
Get out, Johnny! Up, up!
One. Quite exciting, wasn't it? For no wind.
The weather is unpredictable, so you need to be properly clad for a day's shooting on the moor. The butt marker, which Johnny just demonstrated the use of, is an important aid, which gives you a good idea of where the birds went down and assists in picking them up.
Here we go.
You get that or not?
It would not be fair to say that the rain affects Johnny's shooting.
Completely wild. Fastest game bird in the world. And downwind, probably the most challenging to shoot. What do you think, David? He agrees.
The birds continue to pour over the guns. The incredible number of birds is mainly due to the intensive game management, which, among other measures, includes burning the heather, which keeps the plants young and vital. If the heather is not burned, it will grow long and scrawny, and its nutritious qualities are reduced. During the wintertime, and in a controlled way, the heather is burned in patches, so the plants will be burned down once every 25 years or so, depending on their growth rate. The burned patches result in a mosaic of heather of different age, which in a limited area will offer protection and food for the grouse all year round. A good grouse moor will have a population of 1 brace per 1 to 5 acres. As the number of predators is controlled, most of the birds brooding will most likely be successful. And accordingly, it is no wonder that a moor of 300 to 400 hectares can yield a number of grouse like this.
Oh, for God's sake, good hot. 4 shots of the same bird.
That was the blood.
Single one. They're not hanging around, David, these grouse.
Proper grouse.
Normally, the weather is rarely of much significance when shooting driven grouse, as they fly well in all kinds of weather. But the mist should never be heavier than this. Heavy fog affects the safety of beaters and fellow guns, and accordingly the shooting must be stopped.
One in front, one behind. Two.
The drizzling rain and the mist do not make the shooting easier. The grouse are difficult to see at long distance, and they are close to the guns when they suddenly come out of the mist. Like with all kinds of bird shooting, Johnny uses a style according to the situation. Johnny swings along with the bird's line of flight for a moment, then swings through and fires when he thinks he is aptly ahead. How far ahead depends on the sportsman, and it is obviously important that he never stops the swing of his barrels, as this will result in a certain miss. That Johnny belongs to the elite of the best marksmen among grouse shooters is evident. In the beginning of the season, an average gun will spend around 3 shots per bird. The number of cartridges spent per bird will increase as the birds grow stronger and faster, and in November it will raise to 4.5 per bird killed. A really skilled gun can reach an average below 2, calculated over the entire season.
Oh no, for God's sake, good hot. I was just trying to shoot me a little bit too far in front, really. Two in front, Serena. So that's the second horn. We're all out, all unloaded, and then you can start working the dogs.
Picking up the killed grouse after the drive is not only important for ethical reasons. Whereas some shoots have problems selling the pheasants bagged, there is always a great demand for grouse among game dealers and restaurants. The grouse season begins on August 12th, often called the Glorious 12th. As soon as the first birds are killed, they are transported from the northern grouse moors to restaurants in London, who for decades have been competing to be the first serving grouse that season. 100 years ago, it was prestigious to serve grouse for your dinner guests. With modern communication and means of transport, delivery time has been greatly reduced. Today, the grouse dinners are served at the opening day of the season. One year, the race was won by a pub in Surrey by the aid of a helicopter, fast cars, and even parachute jumping.
So at night, the grouse will sit and they'll all face outwards to protect themselves against the predators. And they'll have a communal pile where they go to the loo. And you'll see here that they're obviously quite territorial. So we've got a pile here. We've got a pile just in here. Okay, we've got a pile here. And they quite like the burnt areas because they can hear the foxes coming to them, because they sort of just scrape through all this newly burnt heather. So, and there's another pile here. So it'll be the same covey that sit here most nights. And there's another pile just here, very fresh. This is probably either last night or the night before. And it'll be the same covey coming back to this little territory every night. And facing outwards to make sure that they're not eaten by foxes or stoats, weasels, or any other land predator. here we are in butt 2, with the wind crossing across from right to left. So the left-hand flankers are in nice and tight so that the birds don't run out of the drive. As you go to the top end, the flank is way above them, so as they crab into the wind, they just get turned on the flag and they'll come back over the line and hopefully spread across the line in an even fashion.
Johnny is using a pair of Merkel guns with the barrels bored to a 1.25 choke. The cartridges have fiber wads and contain 30-gram shot number 6. For safety reasons, it's obviously crucial that all the butts are placed in a straight line. Johnny begins with 3 fast grouse in 2 shots. Accidents like this occasionally happen.
I've got 3 out of that lot. Here we go, David, looking right, looking right. No, 1 in front only.
The strong wind makes the shooting even more difficult.
So you can hurt this flanker, even if you're in the butt next door to it. If they fire in that direction, they will still hurt Dick. Not a good place to be. So our drive, really, we can't shoot any further left than the top of that hill there, safely, but then we've got the whole of this vista here. And usually, the shooting accidents are the guys second and third from the end rather than the end guy. The end guy can often see them. There's a grouse just crawling down that thing. And the mistakes made by the guns 2 and 3 in from the end of the line.
Oh.
Another double.
You've got to take it early enough not to get in the trouble with the beaters, haven't you? You've got to take it just that little bit earlier than you want to. Yes. There's one back here. It's landed back here. There it is, right there. Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, there, got it.
Here we go, come on.
Like I said.
Thank you very much. Half brace. The old flanking manoeuvre by LG.
No sun though.
No, there's no sun, but you still got it, just turned it enough to get it behind the line.
A grouse coming downwind, which flutters on after a bad hit, will go far before it lands. But both the dogs, and especially their handlers, are keeping their eyes on birds like that in order to ensure that these birds are retrieved.
Bird coming down here. Keep still, boys, keep still.
Sometimes Johnny even outdoes himself.
Hey! Oh, shot!
Coming down.
Yeah, got him. That one's dead as well. Watch that one. Thank you.
Well shot.
Just gone in this room.
Oh, shit.
coming. Well done.
Nothing seems to be able to affect David's calmness. Not even Johnny, when he laughs after having missed an obvious chance for a double.
That didn't get either, any either.
What a stupid boy I was. I got a left and right before I even got the left.
The beaters are getting close, and the shooting is stopped with a second horn signal.
Go on, get up. Sit. Good girl.
Sizzle shows what she's going for and performs a nice retrieve for Johnny.
Up. Good girl. Where is it? Good girl. Bring it on. Good girl. Bring it here. Come on, you silly thing. Come on. Good girl. Good girl. There we go. Good girl.
How do you do? Fine, thanks, and you? Good, yeah.
After the drive, everybody helps picking up the birds. Finding those that have landed in dense heather is almost impossible without a dog. Just like Johnny, many guns bring their own dogs to the butt and pick up many of the birds they've shot themselves. During the drive, the hired dog handlers are situated around 400 meters behind the butt line, so there is no risk that they will be hit by any pellets. From there, they can make a note of the birds hit and pick them up on their way towards the butts after the horn signals that the drive is over. The retriever's task is obviously to hoover the ground around the butts and to find all wounded birds, but the marker is a great aid when it comes to check which of the birds have not been picked up yet.
This is the grouse butt marker. So the grouse we shot, we make an asterisk for, and we pick them up, put a little circle around them so we know we picked them up. Right, on you go, my darling.
Serena brings along Sizzle and starts looking for the birds she marked with the butt marker. Sizzle is a working Cocker Spaniel, a race which has been bred only for hunting and retrieving. Sizzle's tail has been docked so she won't suffer any damage on it while working in dense and thorny vegetation. Unlike in some other European countries, the authorities in Great Britain have exempted working hunting dogs from the general ban on tail docking.
Come on!
Sizzle is working enthusiastically and energetically like a spaniel should, and cheerfully goes for the next grouse as soon as she's delivered the first to Serena, who makes a circle around her cross on the butt marker.
Get on, go on. Where's it going?
A spaniel to be used for shooting must be eager to work, retrieve spontaneously without damaging the game, be cooperative and easy to direct. In other words, just like Sizzle. It is a pleasure watching her and Serena working together.
I don't know. Serena's got the back card. Very kind.
Johnny isn't just polite when he thanks the beaters. They have done a marvelous job.
Thank you so much. Well done. Thank you very much. Well done, boys. Thank you. Excellent.
But the last grouse has not yet been retrieved, and Sizzle keeps going.
Okay, that's fine then.
Johnny checks whether all the grouse have been picked up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we're half a brace short. Don't ask me where.
While the equipment is packed up and the guns leave the butts, the retrievers continue to look for the very last grouse. Like with any hunting or shooting, it is important that you do your utmost to ensure that no wounded bird is left behind. The dog handlers hardly consider this work, although they get paid for it. They are hunters themselves and assist on large shoots because they think it's fun and it gives their dogs some practice and routine. And who knows if helping out the head keeper results in an invitation to shoot pigeons or rabbits. Johnny prepares himself for yet another drive.
Broken wing, watch that bird.
Just gone in this room.
Seconds with intense firing are followed by minutes of waiting. After all, most of the time in a grouse butt is spent waiting. For long periods of time, no birds are to be seen. But you must keep your eyes open and stay alert in order not to lose concentration. The grouses give you no warning, and if you spot them too late, it's exactly that, too late. The shots are extremely difficult in the strong tailwind, but grouse coming single or in a small covey are still having problems getting past the experienced guns alive. As always, the survival rate is much better when the birds pass in the large coveys, although many don't make it. But some grouse are more unlucky than others. Here, one flies into Johnny's string of shot, just as he's firing at another bird.
How did that work?
On the right.
Wait, what just happened there?
What, did you get two in one?
I got 2 with 1. Did you not get it?
How did I get them both, you know?
Did you get them?
Yeah, both.
2 with 1.
And not off this far apart. Straight ahead, straight ahead.
This makes it easy to understand how hard it is to hit the driven grouse in a strong tailwind, and not just because the speed of the birds is over 100 kilometers per hour. You also need, within a fraction of a second, to pick the right bird out of a large covey and kill it in the very instant where the risk of wounding any other birds is the smallest possible. And all this within the shooting sector allowed for this. One moment of hesitation and the chance is literally blown away.
Right. Right. Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Right, right.
Well, I've got him.
You get any out of it?
Yeah, I got 2 out of that lot behind. Oh, sorry, Paul, I got your camera.
That's good. No problem.
Sorry, mate.
No problem. That was good hit, man. It's a double.
Yeah, I think we got 8.5 and 9 brace. I couldn't quite work it out, but something like that. Two in front, Serena. There you go, keep still, keep still, keep still. Keep very still, guys. Oh, for God's sake, good heart. 2 behind. Oh, there it is, yeah, single bird.
Thanks to a swift exchange of guns, Johnny gets the grouse, going away with his 4th shot. Impressive.
Got it. Finally, got it. Unreal.
More grouse coming up. Will it never stop?
You going through?
Oh, sorry, I was about to change.
With great precision, Johnny kills 2 of the 3 grouse without touching a feather of the 3rd. Most grouse hunters use a 12-bore, but some prefer a 20-bore. An attentive onlooker will notice that the neighboring gun's loader is feeding yellow 20-bore cartridges in the chamber of his gun. Shooting driven grouse is a very British way of hunting, and you might think that it goes back for centuries, but that is not the case. The tradition of hunting driven birds was founded around 150 years ago as a consequence of the development of the modern shotgun. At the beginning of the 19th century, you only had clumsy muzzle loaders, which were difficult and time-consuming to reload. First, you poured the gunpowder into the barrel. Then you pressed down a wad with a ramrod, and only then could you put in the load of shot and ram yet another wad down the barrel to keep the entire load in place. Then you had to place a fresh percussion cap on the nipple and cock the hammer before you could fire one more shot. You do not need to have seen this film in order to realize that a gun like that was no good for driven shooting. But when break-open guns loaded from the breech with cartridges were invented, the rate of fire increased dramatically, and the development of the ejectors made the process even faster. Until then, grouse had primarily been hunted with pointing dogs, but now driven shooting became possible, and traditional hunting with dogs slowly faded away. Today, pointer and setters are quite a rare sight in the British shooting fields. Instead, new races for driven shooting have been bred, dogs which sole task are to pick up dead or wounded birds. The retrievers. Along with the old races of spaniels, the retrievers constitute the vast majority of hunting dogs in Great Britain. The transition from muzzle loaders to the much faster breech loaders are reflected in the records made. August 12, 1871, Maharaj Dulip Singh single-handedly killed 440 grouse over dogs in one day. 17 years later, on August 30, 1888, Lord Walsingham was the single sportsman on his own driven grouse shoot, assisted by 2 loaders and using a trio of guns from Purdy's. Walsingham had made a wager that he could shoot 1,000 grouse in a day. This he managed, as the day's total bag was 1,070 grouse. The last drive of the day is coming to an end, and just like a boxer can be saved by the bell, a single grouse is let off the hook as it appears the very instant the second sound of the horn that ends the drive. Firing a shot after the second sound of the horn is considered a mortal sin.
Yeah. When that final haul goes, there's no excuse, no more shooting. That's it. End of drive. Good, thanks, David. Look at them. Beautiful wild birds. Top of the moors. Look at you. And there's nothing around. Fantastic sport. Fantastic. Come on, girl. Where is it? Good girl. Bring it here. Come on. Good girl. Oh, good girl. Good girl. Sit. Good girl. There we go.
Driven grouse shooting cannot be compared to any other kind of shooting. Economically, it is out of reach for most sportsmen, but it is not enough to be well off if you want to shoot grouse. As you can see from this film, it is also necessary to be a capable shot if you want to shoot your fair share of these super swift birds. The exclusivity of the kind of shooting derives from the fact that you shoot wild birds which are only to be found in those parts of the British Isles that are covered by moorland with heather. Large parts of Denmark and southwest Sweden were slightly over 100 years ago covered by heather-clad moorland with large populations of black grouse, among other species. Since then, the moorland has been turned into fields or forest, and the black grouse is all but disappeared. Today, 75% of the world's surviving heather-clad moors is found in Great Britain. Even here, the areas were diminishing for many years, as the moors could not generate sufficient income to be profitable. But this has been stopped, thanks to the value of grouse shooting.
Oh, shot!
The gamekeepers' management and protection of Scotland's and Northern England's moors are great examples of practical conservation, which will not only save a type of landscape for coming generations, but will also help a number of threatened bird species. And thanks to shooting, the moors and their varied bird life does not have to be financed by contributions from the taxpayers. Actually, the grouse is providing work and income to the sparsely populated areas which are struggling to survive. So when we now must say goodbye to Johnny Goodhart and his shooting friends, to the loader David Elgie, to Serena and Sizzle, and to the gamekeepers and assistants after some magnificent days, we rest assured that the shooting, which they are all such an important part of, is the best guarantee for the future existence of the moors. They all make an effort to ensure that their children and grandchildren too will be able to see this beautiful landscape, hear the grouse creaking and the curlews whistling, see the ring ouzels and golden plovers, and watch the merlin and peregrine falcon hunting over a waving sea of blooming heather. And all this thanks to the shooting and game management. Happy hunting out there.